All right, what's up, folks? This video is actually for my brother, and he's just getting started in Magic, and I put together this Rabble Red Aggro deck for him, and I want to walk him through it and let him know what cards we're using and what they do, and then I'll show a game in action that highlights some of the components of this deck and how to play it. So we're running 18 mountains. Those are just basic lands, and they're red colored, so everything in the deck is red, so it's called a mono red. And then we're running 4 Akron Crusaders. This is 1/1, meaning that he has 1 power and 1 toughness. That's in the bottom right corner of the card. And the cost is 1 red mana. And what he does is whenever you target him with a spell, you put a 1/1 red soldier creature token with haste onto the battlefield. So he allows you to have more creatures out on the board as you cast spells to him. The next one is Blinding Flare, and this allows you to prevent your opponent from blocking you. It's a very powerful card. Then Dragon Mantle. This one basically allows you to draw a card, which really helps because this deck you cast stuff pretty quick and you can easily run out of cards in your hand. Also gives you +1 to a creature if you pay 1 red mana. Foundry Street Denizen. This guy's really cool. Usually if you have him in your hand, you're going to want to cast him first typically, because the second turn, if you cast a creature, he gets +1. And this actually works really good with Hordling Outburst. This guy can get beefed up pretty quickly. Frenzied Goblin. This guy, once you get him activated, for 1 red mana, he can prevent another opponent's creature from blocking. And so I really like that block effect with this deck because, you know, turn 1, turn 2, you usually aren't facing too many opponents. But after that, if your opponent has creatures on the board, these guys are all so small, it's kind of hard to get damage through. You don't really have trample going on. And so, you know, it becomes challenging. So I like that, that anti-block feature from the Blinding Flare and the Frenzied Goblins. A lot of decks run 3 Frenzied Goblins, but here I'm running 4 just because I want to have him accessible, available, and I want to be blocking creatures so that I could swing in with everything. Hammerhand. This is an awesome card. I think it's a highlight of the deck, actually. You can cast a creature, and most of the creatures here have Summoning Sickness except for Monastery Swiftspear. But you can cast a creature, pop a Hammerhand on it, and next thing you know, that creature has haste, so it no longer has Summoning Sickness and gets +1/+1. And then also you can target an opponent so that it can't block. I mean, this card is just awesome. It only costs 1 red. That's amazing. Monastery Swiftspear has haste when you cast it, which is great, but it's only a 1 power creature. But it has prowess, which means every time you cast a non-creature spell, it triggers prowess and it gives Monastery Swiftspear +1/+1 till the end of turn. So this could be pretty powerful if you're casting 2 or 3 non-creature spells in a single turn. Titan Strength is awesome. You get +3/+1, and then you also get to scry 1. And so typically how you're using this as an instant is you might declare attackers, they might declare blockers, and then whatever creature that you have that isn't being blocked, just throw Titan Strength on them, and you're getting in 3 plus whatever damage that creature has at that time. So that's a really strong card in this deck. Arena Athlete, again, here it is with the target opponent can't block if this creature is attacking. Love that dynamic. Lightning Strike, I'm only running 1. I should probably be running 2, but not sure I want to give up anything else here. It just deals 3 damage to either your opponent or to a creature that they control. It's a nice way to get rid of a creature, get something out of the way, and then it'll also trigger Monastery Swiftspear. Valley Dasher, I got 2 of these in here just because it's a 2/2 for 2 with haste, and it's always nice to play that like on turn 3 or something. You already have 2 creatures on the board. Maybe you have a Foundry Street Denizen, and you put him out there. He has haste. I like haste in this deck. It just gets things going. You don't have to wait till the next turn where your opponent may have another blocker on the table. Goblin Rabble Master, I only have 2 because that's all I own on this online version. But this card is really strong in this deck, and whenever I draw him, my opponent has to answer him fairly immediately. He has to deal with him, or he's just going to get out of control. Especially if I cast a Hordling Outburst and have a Goblin Rattle Master on the table, and then when Hordling Outburst comes live, I got 3/3 or 3/1/1 red Goblin creature tokens that are all attacking, which totally boosts Goblin Rattle Master because he gets +1 for every attacking Goblin creature, so he can get out of control really quick. I'm running Chandra. Chandra has a mana cost of 4, 2 colorless and 2 red, but it's pretty steep. But I found that if the game goes to like turn 4 or 5, she just becomes amazing in this deck. You deal 1 damage to target player, so you're gonna do 1 damage, which works. I mean, it's not a lot, but your opponent can't really do anything about that. Can't prevent it. And then it also deals 1 damage to a target opponent creature and makes that creature unblockable. And so again, here's this unblockable theme, and that's really why I have her in the deck. I guess her 0 ability could be helpful if you have open mana. You could get another creature on the board, or you're gonna find a spell that you can cast that will either trigger your prowess for your Monastery Swiftspear, or allow you to cast onto a Crone Crusader and get another 1/1 red soldier. Chandra's -7 ability is amazing. However, in this deck, it's not going to be so great, mostly because all I'm going to draw into that I can actually use for that is going to be Stoke the Flames. Now, if I hit a Stoke the Flames, it's game over, but there's only 4 of those in this deck. If I hit a Lightning Strike, yep, that's going to do some pretty good damage, because what you're doing is you're multiplying that card times 3. And so Lightning Strike, I deal 9 damage. Stoke the Flames, I would deal 12 damage. But if I pull any creature, it does me no good. Titan Strength, I guess that would be good if you have creatures that are ready to attack, and you can cast 3 of those on each of your creatures. That would work. But if they're all getting blocked, then that doesn't do you much good, other than helps you scry maybe. But yeah, Chandra is mostly here for her +1 ability to add to blocking, or if you can get her out on turn 4, if you have the mana for it, which I've done before, then if you have an opponent that is barely getting to cast their creatures, and if they cast like a 2/1, or they have a 2/1 on the board, that creature is just gone with Chandra's +1 ability. So if they're playing any creatures with a 1 toughness, or if they have any tokens out, Chandra just takes care of them, removes them, and then you can go ahead and attack free and clear. All right, in the sideboard, I have another Blinding Flare, just because this card clears the path, just because it makes 1 or more creatures that your opponent controls unblockable. Coordinate Assault, this card is really good, but I used to run 3 in this deck, but I just haven't, it'll really help under certain conditions, but other conditions, it's going to give 1 creature +1, and if you don't have any blockers, First Strike doesn't do anything for you, so I'd rather be casting something else, but I got one in there in the sideboard. Magma Spray deals 2 damage to target creature. This is beneficial if you're trying to get rid of a creature from the board, and exile it, or it's also nice if you're up against a creature that has like 4 power and you swing in with an attacker that has 2, you can actually get rid of that larger creature with a Magma Spray and make sure that they are not available to come back into the game from the graveyard. Here I have 2 more Lightning Strikes that I could bring in to give me 3, would kind of help out with Chandra. It would also help out in getting rid of creatures with the power or a toughness of up to 3. Searing Blood is really great against a mirror match, where a bunch of the creatures are only going to have a 1 or 2 toughness. And so that's going to get rid of the creature and deal 3 damage to its controller. So having 3 of those makes a lot of sense. Halle Triumph, I'd really love to get this into my main deck, but again, I'm not sure what I'd remove. But for a cost of 3, it gives all your creatures 1/1. All your creatures are red, so just choose red. And everything gets 1/1, and that could be extremely powerful, especially when Goblin Rattlemaster is activated, as well as casting your Hordeling Outburst. You just get 3 2/2s. I mean, that's really strong. Act of Treason. This is when you're up against creatures that are more powerful than your creatures. You can take ownership of one and attack with it. And so, you know, if you get them down to like 11 or 10 by the start of turn 3, and then you've got 3 mana, and you Act of Treason on turn 4 or turn 5, something that they have that they've already gotten out there that has a power level of 4 or something. Hey, you're gonna drop them down and get them into a manageable range to finish them off. And then same with Harness by Force, kind of does the same thing. And so, yeah, that's the deck, and let me walk you through a game and show you how this thing works. All right, here we go. Here's an example of this deck in action. So I won the die roll, which means I get to choose to play first, or I could pass the first play to my opponent. But with this deck, I'm always going to choose to play first. So I have a good looking hand here. I'm dropping a Mountain first and then tapping it for Foundry Street Denizen. I'm doing that because I have a couple more creatures, and I want to be able to play creature to activate his ability to give him a 2/1. Now it looks like I'm playing against a mirror match, so my opponent is basically running the same deck I am. There may be some variation, but same idea. And so he has like similar cards and stuff that I do. All right, I'm casting my second Foundry Street Denizen. The ability is going to trigger +1 for the first Foundry Street Denizen that I already have out there, but I'm not going to attack because I'm not ready to trade creatures with him. He's casting a Crone Crusader. This is a pretty powerful card, especially if he can cast a spell to it. It'll add a that's what he's doing right here, a Dragon Mantle. And so that'll allow him to draw a card, and it just created that soldier creature token with haste. So so now his Foundry Street Denizen has been boosted, and to a 2 and then to a 3 power because of the Crone Crusader and the soldier. And so he's going to be attacking for 4 this turn. And oh no, he's just tapping with the 1 soldier. So again, he doesn't want to get rid of his Foundry Street Denizen if I block it with one of mine. He's not ready to trade. So I go to 19, he's still at 20. And look at what I drew. Here we go, Goblin Rattlemaster. So this is going to trigger both of my Foundry Street Denizens, and when I go to combat here in a second, it's going to produce a token, a 1/1 Goblin token with haste. Here it is at the beginning of combat. That's what Goblin Rattlemaster does, and triggers my my denizens again, bringing them both to 3 power. So as you can see, it's a pretty powerful dynamic, and I'm just going to swing in for with all 3 of these. My Goblin Rattlemaster has Summoning Sickness, so he can't attack this turn. Here comes blocks, but he doesn't have any mana, so he can't pump any of his guys. But I was willing to trade there because I have Goblin Rattlemaster out on the table. And he so happens to have his 3rd Mountain and had a Goblin Rattlemaster in hand. So this is a Rattlemaster face-off, which can really get out of control quickly. These Goblin Rattlemasters, they create a token, and then they add to their attack however many other goblin creatures are attacking. So I was able to block his token, which got rid of it. He only did 1 damage to me with this token. Look at this. Drew another Goblin Rattlemaster. That's pretty powerful. I'm only running 2 in this deck, and it was a pretty poor shuffle, but in my favor because I had 2 in a row. So look at this. I've got 3 tokens out there, and now when I tap my Goblin Rabble Master, he goes to 5 power. Now, he could block me with his token, which would prevent the damage, but my Rabble Master would still be alive. But he does block with his Rabble Master, so we trade, and I still have 1 on the board with 2 tokens, and I will be adding a 3rd if I attack with him next turn. So now he has his 4th land, and here he uses Stoke the Flames, which is an extremely powerful card, and got rid of my Goblin Rabble Master. So this is quite a game. I mean, we're exchanging, our powerful cards for each other. But now look at the board state. So I've got just casted a Monastery Swiftspear, which has haste, and casted a Crowan Crusader. Here we go. I'm attacking with that haste creature as well as my 2 goblins, and then here's my Titan Strength that adds 3 and triggers Prowess, and allows me to scry 1 as well. And so here I'm swinging in for 5 plus 2 on the goblins, which takes him down to 10. Now this is the card that I'm choosing not to run on my deck, and everyone else does. The Fire Drinker Satyr. It's a 2/2 for 1, which is really powerful. And then he puts he's totally buffing this thing up, which is a really great approach and a really great way to go. And he's gonna swing in, like he just casted that creature, gave it haste, boosted it with Titan Strength, prevented me from blocking, and got that 6 damage in, which is awesome. But watch this. What happens with Fire Drinker Satyr is any damage that it takes not only applies to the creature, but gets dealt to the controller of the card, which is why I don't like this. So I Stoke the Flames and got rid of it and dealt him 6 damage. And here we go. I'm swinging in for 4, which is going to drop him to 2, and I'm still at 13. I've got 4 creatures on the board. He has none. And so, basically he's calling it game over because he has 2 cards in his hand. And even if he could cast 2 creatures, even if those are both creatures, if he can cast 2 creatures, he's only going to block me twice. And that's if I don't draw the next card, which makes things unblockable. And so no matter what he blocks, I'm still going to be able to swing in for 2. And it would be game over. And so at any time based on Magic rules, you can concede and call it game over, and basically allow your opponent to win that match. And so on the online version, a lot of people concede when they determine that they can't win. But I like to play it out to the end because, like, I record these videos and I do commentary and then I post them, and it's just nice to see the game end. And people online, I don't know, I think they're just like, it like makes their loss less severe or something when they just like cut out and bail and it's like, oh, whatever, and have some explanation or excuse why they didn't win. I mean, hey, let your opponent play things out. And they put together the time, the effort, the money to build the deck. It's like, let them play it out, and see what their deck can do. And you might learn something, or you might just keep trying and figuring out a way to like not die this next turn, and you might draw a card that you need that you thought you'd never win, but there it is, and it happens. So hope that was useful for you. It's a long video, but I hope that kind of walked you through the process of how to play this deck. And yeah, man, let's jump online and play, and let's have some fun. Peace out.